Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Today we're going to be talking about something that I feel like is really important. I feel like a lot of us go through all these season changes in our lives where our priorities in those moments need to change, but they just don't seem to. We keep trying to do the same thing even though our lives keep marching forward. And at some point that just becomes completely unsustainable and it's practically insanity. So we're going to be talking about that, and we'd love to have you to come and join us as we do that. Welcome back to thoutraid, a show where we take on thoughts and find better ways of thinking about them. I'm Brandon, this is Tim, and today we're talking about the need to change your priorities when your life season changes. And I feel like right off the top of the the very beginning here, we gotta at least just define what a season of life even looks like.
Well, man, before we even go into that, I always think about Borderlands whenever I think about insanity. Is it Borderlands? No, it's. Did you ever play Far Cry?
Nope.
There was a game, Far Cry, and I remember I used to work for GameStop, and on the front of the cover, it was talking about how the villain he was crazy, and he was posing the question, what is insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I just think it's so cool that they would pose a villain in a video game that way. Because, villains always want change.
Yes.
For some reason. A lot of times it's crazy change, and change doesn't make sense.
Yes. I think oftentimes they want change and they want it now, which is the biggest problem. Because they have no concept that true change takes time, because a healthy change is just not going to just happen like that.
But the thing about that is they often have a really good view of the world, and it's like people are not changing with the times. People aren't doing what they need to do. They're sticking to tradition. They're sticking to what's safe and comfortable, and a lot of villains just want to pull people out of that. Like in Saw. Did you ever watch the Saw series?
No, but they keep pulling people into this place where they're going to inevitably get maimed in some shape, way, or form.
Yeah, well, do you know the premise?
No.
Okay, so all the people that got taken in the little rooms were people that were bad people that were not being held accountable. And so he made them decide, okay, are you going to die or are you going to atone for your sins? I don't know if the dude was a Christian or if he was like some kind of psycho. I mean, he was obviously some kind of psychopath.
Now, is this like the general theme of Saw, or is this one particular Saw?
That's the general theme.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so basically, like that show Dexter. Did you ever watch that?
No, but I'm aware of the concept. You got Dexter, who is he a cannibal? Is he at least a serial killer?
I don't know. I never saw it. I always just read.
But he kills bad guys.
Yeah, bad guys.
Yeah,
bad guys. You want to hit the button?
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah. So we're talking about insanity, I guess, to a degree, guys, because in my life and in Brandon's life recently, we've hit some walls.
Yes.
And we've continued to try to do the same thing over and over because we qualify in our minds, oh, this is what has worked in the past, so this is how we're going to get in the future. And the more we dig in, the more it fails. And the more it fails, the more we dig in and think we just need to work harder. And it's been different in both of our lives lately. Mm-hmm. But it is insanity, man. It's like I'm working, trying my hardest. I'm praying, I'm doing, I'm sacrificing, I'm giving up, I'm pushing, and I'm getting no freaking where. Mm-hmm. But what has that been like for you, Brandon? And guys, as you're watching, I'd love to know in chat what it's like for you, because if you're watching this and you're feeling stuck, brother or sister, whoever you are, not going to genderize you.
Axe.
We feel what you're feeling.
Real quick, X-Men says that Hannibal was the cannibal. Dexter was a serial killer.
Hannibal was the cannibal.
Hannibal the cannibal, and Dexter. Dexter does not rhyme with serial killer. I'm sorry.
Dexter is a
serial killer.
Sex.
No.
I don't know.
No.
Something like that.
Dexter is not a sexter. Anyways.
So we're talking about our life season of being stuck.
Yes. You're asking me what it looks like?
No, like for you, what it looks like. I want you to tell your story, man. Like, for me, for instance, I always think of Gideon. I love his story because Gideon was a total BA. And the really cool thing about his story is that every time he was going to go into battle, it was always ridiculous circumstances. It was a battle that was bigger than him and bigger than his army, honestly. At one point, his army was outnumbered, was like 1,000-1 or 10,000-1 or something dumb.
Yeah.
But every time he would go into battle, he wouldn't do the same thing that God told him to do previously. He would always say, hang on, let me go pray. And just imagine what that's like. Like, he has people right on the front of the battlefield, like within sight range, that are going to come and massacre all of his people. He's like, hey guys, 1 second, let me just go in this tent and talk to this God, right? And I'm sure his soldiers were like, do you see what he's doing? What the heck, man? Like, we need to be running, we need to be fighting for him. No, don't go in your tent, right? But every time he was faced with something, he would go in the tent and he would say, God, what do you want me to do differently this time?
King David did the same thing too. He would always go to God for direction, how to do war or go into battle, and that also played very well for him when it came to overcoming the enemy. Any time that he failed, it was usually when he was trying to do things on his own strength, not God's strength. But I mean, I guess if you want to look into what it looks like in my life and stuff.
Yeah, especially in the past couple of months.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like obligated to just kind of give like a quick string of what that insanity looks like in my life. I'm a perfectionist. I want to do the right thing, and I want to do it exactly right, perfect to the T. Because for me, it's not a matter of like, I look at all these things I should be doing and think, wow, this is stupid and I know better. I think I'm stupid and they know better, and I'm trying to obtain that perfection because they have what I want, especially when it comes to morality, more so than anything. If there's anything that I will strive for perfection in, it is my own personal walk with Christ and morality. And so that's why I go the most insane at times. Because when I know that God says, don't do this, and I keep doing it even though I know I should be doing it, I go absolutely crazy. Because it's like, why I was able to do it this way before and it worked, why am I not able to do it now and it works? I don't understand. I mean, like a first example was UGN. Like, since you're with us, Axe, back in 2018, God gave me a word. He said, Brandon, you're going to make $10,000 per month through UGN. You're going to have a lot of people come in and you're going to be able to minister to a lot of people. Like, great, cool. And we talked about that.
Yeah.
But then it didn't happen. And I had to start a full-time job in 2015. And by 2018, I was at the end of my rope. I just was so anxious, so tightly wound into a knot. Because it's like, this is what God said, and I'm trying to make it happen, and I just cannot make it happen.
Yeah, and it's the whole perfectionism thing, because the way that you and I engage in insanity and perfectionism and stuff is completely different, but it's the same process. Because, like, on my side, it's not perfectionism in the same way where it's bound in morality and doing the right thing. For me, like, I'll sit there and I'll fixate on one thing because I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I'm not a piece of trash, I need to be more disciplined. If I'm not a piece of trash, because I have a history of not being responsible for myself, you know? So back then, what was a change out of my insanity was being responsible for myself. Now I'm responsible for myself. I think, okay, being more responsible is going to get me from here to where I need to go. And so I'm like, okay, I just need to be more responsible. I need to make sure that this font looks good, make sure like it loads properly, and make sure, oh man, I forgot I was grammatically incorrect there. I need to fix this, right? That my perfectionism comes from a place of value. It's like, okay, if this isn't perfect, then I'm a piece of crap.
You're still trying
to doing enough.
You're still trying to play catch up from who you used to be, and even though you have caught up from where you used to be, you still feel like you'd have to keep going.
Yeah, you know, like last night we have a friend who was named. She's still named Chelsea Cordell, and she made the comment that David Olinger, our young adults pastor, was asking the room like, what words do you guys have for the room?
Mm-hmm.
And Chelsea spoke up and said, I feel like a lot of people are in a season of change, specifically where they need to downshift. And if you guys have never driven a manual
Stick
car
shift.
or a car in general, when you downshift, your like the cogs, that spin and all the gears and whatnot, you go to I think it's a smaller gear. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you just go to a different size gear, and so your engine lurches, and it feels like you're braking. It feels like that, right? However, when you downshift and your car lurches, it's preparing to accelerate at a higher RPM or whatever. And so you can actually go faster because your car needs a different gear, right? And I just thought that was kind of interesting, because for me, what that looks like right now, breaking out of my insanity and all my frustration and where I'm stuck, it's like, oh no. If I downshift, man, I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose all my progress I've made for the past 10 years, you know? It's like, if I take my foot off the gas,
Yeah.
and because I work at home, you know, my wife makes more money than me, and I'm already trying to reconcile that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but when you come from my background where you attach your value system to how much money you make, that's hard already, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, okay, well, she goes to work, and I sit up here and sitting here trying to make a line move across the screen, man. And I'm thinking, okay, well, in order for me to downshift, that means taking my foot off the gas and repurposing my priorities. And it just feels not right. You know, it feels like breaking out of my current season of insanity it doesn't make sense, but a lot of times it doesn't make sense.
Well, the ironic thing is what you're downshifting in and what I'm downshifting in. Like, the thing that you have a hard time downshifting in, which I have an easy time downshifting in, is rearranging what gets my priority work-wise. I've started a part-time job. If you haven't noticed, we have not had TikTok videos once every week, and nor have we had the afterthoughts going up as frequently, because I just don't have the energy nor the time to keep investing into that personally.
By the way, plug, if you guys are on TikTok, search us up at thoughtraid.
Yes, even though I'm not making any new ones at the moment, we still have 25 to 30 videos that are just 1 minute long, perfect if you want bite-size thought life.
Yes, and if you are watching this video, if you haven't done so already and you're on YouTube especially, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. We are almost to 100 followers, which would be super awesome.
Please help us get there.
The main thing is
We're done being a demon text when you're trying to search for ThoughtRaid. We want to just be youtube.com/ThoughtRaid, and only way we can do that is if 100 people subscribe to us. So let's push for that.
Yeah, so if you haven't done so, just hit the subscribe button. But anyways,
but I'm very comfortable, doing a little bit less here, because God gave me a mandate. He said we broadcast 3 times a week. I can easily broadcast 3 times a week. We're doing that right now, no problem. Anything else above that is just like I don't have the energy for it. So I guess since God set the standard, I know as long as I live up to that standard, which is already a low bar for me, we're good. Because that's all God has specifically called us to.
With that, it's like we do a lot with ThoughtRaid in our secondary and tertiary things. Like we make TikTok videos and other videos, and we minister to people, and we try to set up like all these cool, there's just a lot that we do, and God hasn't told us to do that, and we're thinking, man, why is this not growing the way that we want it to? And it's not just ThoughtRaid, it's other areas of our lives where we're striving. And I think the key word there is striving.
Yeah. And that's the place that I got way back in 2018 with UGN. I was striving to bring UGN into what God said it was going to be.
Yeah.
And it was the wrong season. And so what I discovered in that time was that I was going insane, trying to get it to where it needed to be. No one was helping me. Like, at that time in 2018... Axe, you might have started a job during that time. Mike was doing some stuff. He was busy. Josh was busy. There's just a whole lot of things that kind of fell out that I was just not able to sustain continuing to build UGN. And so once I stopped once I was able to change my priorities away from that, and God was like, put your priorities in the local community, then the insanity lifted, because I was able to prioritize what was important for 2018. So now this year, the area that I'm weak in, but you're strong in this area, is I'm realizing I'm having to prioritize a little bit differently my wants and needs and time for a community rather than putting it all into self-development. Because I know that sounds extremely strange. I know.
You're such a good person, Brandon. You need to stop being such a good, self-reflective, personally responsible person.
I need to be a little less self-reflective, yes. The area, I think around that time I started that's probably what it was. That makes sense. Yeah, part of it was college. So it's out of the college where you had started that job.
That one guy, is that Dan Smith?
Mm-hmm, that's Dan.
I was wondering why I was feeling hot flashes.
Hot flashes! Wow. Anyways, I recognize that I've been shifting into a new season where I need to be focusing on just being around people and what I want to do and allowing God to take care of my self-reflection and those type of certain responsibilities. Because between building thoughtraid and working a part-time job and still running UGN just as strong and spending time with friends and everything else that I'm doing, I just, it's certain things have come to suffer. Like the community has just my time with community has come to suffer as of late because of all the places that I've been pouring myself into. And that's caused pornography to become much more of a threat in my life again.
Days without saying porn, reset the counter.
0. Yes. And I felt so terrible because it came right on the heels of us talking about porn. And I was just like, why now? Why now? It came up again, and so, like, here's all this frustration been going back up again. And I've been having to reshift my priorities because I've been putting so much time into self-development, which is very important. But part of resisting temptation is you need community. And my community, my help has been primarily coming from my own strength. I have been trying my darnest to do the right thing on my own over and over and over again. And it's, like I said, it's come at the expense of being able to be around other people that I need to pour into me. And it's also been making me self-reliant rather than God-reliant to help me get through this. And that's really hard. Like, God's been my number one priority, but he hasn't been my number one help.
Well, it's kind of like, I had this friend on Facebook, and they always post stuff that's pro-Trump, anti-vax, and all this stuff. Not that being a Trump supporter or being anti-vax is bad per se, because Trump is still a person, and vaccines, some are bad, some are good. So there's merit in both points of view. But they say, I don't need the vaccine because I have God. Right? But it's one of those thought processes where, yeah, sometimes that's true, but at the same time, it's like God gives us medicine. Like God gives us different ways to accomplish a goal. Yeah. And yet we can put them in a box and say, okay, well, there's only one way. And when we do that in and of itself is the definition of insanity. It's no longer a relationship. It's, okay, well, God works A, B, and C and only A, B, and C in this fashion. And it's like, well, God, why aren't you doing something? Where the heck are you?
Maybe he's been doing something the whole time. You've just been more so focused on what I'm supposed to do rather than what he's supposed to do, which is why we had that whole conversation on Monday of what is God's responsibility in all this, which is something I'm learning to navigate. And so what I'm talking about now, this is something that's like a testimony in progress. But I've been feeling God, he's been wanting me to shift gears away from, and it doesn't make any sense on the outside, away from constant self-reflection, away from constant, I'm trying to work on myself, to let me delegate some of this to him so that I can just focus on being.
Yeah, and real quick, guys, if you're watching this and you're feeling stuck, because I know I invited a specific amount of people to check this out because I know that you're feeling stuck, an exercise I did with Brandon the other day was I laid out a bunch of priorities on these little note cards. You don't have to do it the same way. You can just think about this, right? Just think about different priorities you can have. And you really only have room to focus on about 5 at a time. You're not designed to work on every single priority every single second of the day. You just don't have that capacity, right?
You're not omnipresent.
Yeah, and just because you're not focused on a priority doesn't make it a bad priority, because there's a time and place for everything. I mean, I think it was Solomon that even said that something about gosh, what is that scripture where it talks about seasons?
There's a time and season for everything, a time to plant and a time to harvest.
That was Solomon, right?
Yes, I think that. I don't know if that was Ecclesiastes or if that was Proverbs.
Well, you squeaky Christians in chat, let me know what it is.
Squeaky Christians.
Okay, but anyways, what I want you to do is I want you to just think about all the priorities that could be on your plate and have been in the past and should be in the future, and pick 5 of them, right? What do you think your 5 current priorities are, right? And then look at where you're going. Where do you need to go? And for some people, that's into a new job, a healthier relationship with whoever, maybe even yourself. Just ask, what are your needs to get there? And then you have to identify, okay, are these priorities that I'm giving all my resources? And when I mean resources, I'm talking about time, emotional energy, effort, finances, your money. What are you putting your money into? Mental thought, like you spend resources on your priorities, man. So how do you need to reallocate your resources? And when we did this with Brandon, what were the 5 that you chose?
It was God and relationship was the first. Then it was personal growth. Then it was close friends and immediate family or something like that. Then it was personal responsibility, and then it was work.
Right.
Was the last one.
Yeah, and that's something which is great. And some of us really need to focus more on personal development and stuff. But when you do that for so long, a lot of the clients I work with, they get to this place in life, and especially if you've experienced trauma, a lot of those priorities just get stuck, and you think, okay, the same priorities I had in high school are the same priorities I need to have right now. And some of you have gone through life changes. A lot of us have gone through life changes, and we think, okay, well, my priority is being social, partying, learning something new, having fun, buying a house, whatever. But as you get older and the needs of your life change, so does the need for your priorities, right? And when you don't change those, life doesn't just stop; it continues going.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at right now, where it's like life has continued to go, but we've maintained the same priorities without adjusting them.
Honestly, if where I'm headed is going to be bigger than where I'm at, I'm going to need a degree of more reliance on God and His ability to help me pull through and to be my strength, because, it's just going to be greater than my current capacity, honestly. And so this is one of those things where it's just I've gotten to a place. The reason why I've decided not to focus this time on what should I do to deal with these temptations like I have done in the past is because I have done this over and over and over and over again, where I will, I will go through this moment where these temptations hit me, and then I'll try to work my way out of it, and I'll be accountable. I'll pray. I'll read the Word. I'll get counseling. I'll do all of these things, and I've done it all. All that I know to do, I've done. Is something that if I really wanted to, I could power through it, because it has no control over me. I have the ability to choose no. But this most recent time, I realized, okay, so it's not a matter of, I don't have a past I need to work through. I don't have a whatever to overcome this. I clearly just want porn. Just straight, no way to sugarcoat it. I don't feel like putting in the effort. And it's just that bothered me, because it's crap. Okay, I have no excuses anymore. None. And so I recognize it's God, I need you to change me. And then as I was inviting him to change me, then I was like, no, I'm going to change myself. Because I can't. Clearly there must be something you want me to do.
Brandon, you just need to do more.
But
you need to do more,
Brandon. No. But I've been feeling like God has been inviting me into this space of let me handle it. Because it's he's been telling me, I have your heart. The war is won. Your heart is mine. So he knows that I genuinely crave being obedient to him with all of my heart. I want to do what's right. There is no question about that. But I feel like this time he's got to be the one to change my desires, not for me to try to do everything I can, because we've gotten down to the core basics. It's no longer I need to work through this trauma. It's no longer I need to work through my expectations. I know it's wrong. Then no one has to teach me that it's wrong. There's no question about that. I just think that he needs to change the desires of my heart now. That only he can do that. And so my priorities need to shift from I need to do all these things to I just need to focus on the people around me and on God and doing a good job of my new part-time job and community as we laid out those two new priorities. And
So what we did was we had tangibly 5 cards and they had all these ideas, and when you're doing this for yourself, you can't just add a new priority because you really only have limited finances. So you have to take something out to put something else in, and Brandon took out personal responsibility and personal development,
personal growth.
He took
being
those
the main
out
focuses.
Out of his main priorities and replaced it with community and wants. I think we replaced it with
wants. Which, I mean, that one, it could be, like, I don't feel like I'm having so hard on what I want to do, but the community, though, especially, like, I went to small group on Wednesday and yesterday, and it was very life-giving. Lots of laughs on Wednesday and on Thursday. The things that David was talking about, David Ollinger was talking about was very helpful, just to hear a restatement. He doesn't know my situation. I haven't talked to him about what I'm going through, but he said exactly what we've been talking about of just, some of you guys have been stuck.
That felt really good for me. It's like, I actually hear the Holy Spirit. Yes. Okay. It's not just me.
You guys, some of you feel stuck and, I forgot exactly how he put it, but it was just essentially you need to be reliant on the Holy Spirit to help empower you. Because it's like everything I've been learning, like from Dan Mohler and from other people and yourself, is like the people that I see who are truly free from porn are not people that are striving and struggling to get out of it. They just are. They might have temptations, they might make mistakes, but it doesn't get them to spiral.
And outside of that, there was somebody that came up to you and gave you a word that was
strength.
Yeah.
It was Tim, I forget his last name. Johnson. Tim was praying strength over me, and as he was praying strength, I was hearing God saying, my strength. So I was like, yes, indeed.
And, the funny thing is, somebody came up to me before we left last night, and they were like, it's really good to see Brandon back to the old Brandon, because you were dancing around, and you were just like, I don't know, I'm just happy. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
I was just weeping the whole way through. After we got through worship and we're getting into that in between part before they closed out. Like, I was just crying because God was just ministering to me and was like, I love you. You're right where I want you to be. I trust you, but I want you to trust me. And now that you're giving me your trust that I can take care of you when it comes to your desires for porn, you and I are going to be unstoppable. And I'm just like, and it's just not sustainable. I'm not enough. I'm just simply not enough to deal with it. But my heart is in his hands. No one has to convince me that porn is wrong. No one has to convince me what ways are good for taking care of it on the outside and stuff like that. It's just, for some reason, there's a last part that I know it's up to God to deal with, and I think he's going to deal with it, and when he does, we'll have a testimony on thoutraid about how he did it, and I can share with you the process, so maybe it can help you. Yeah. So I'm a testimony in progress. Axeman saying, I feel like switching those out is the smartest thing, because focusing on other points in your life will open new perspectives for previous issues. I agree. Absolutely.
What did the Dan Incarnate person...
He said he just want to say on stream that I have a lot of respect for you guys and what you're doing here. Oh. Dan.
Shucks, senpai.
That's great. But yeah, I agree with you, Axeman. I definitely think that that's good for getting other perspectives, because when you're trying to do everything on your own strength, like I have been doing, kind of almost out of necessity in some points, you only see certain perspectives and you just miss out. And then also, not only do you see certain perspectives, but you just develop certain feelings towards people. And when I say feelings, I mean like you make up things in your head about that person, and the only way to deal with that is just to be around them and get to know them, because otherwise there's no way you can properly sort that out in your head, even if you're very smart and perceptive.
Well, the thing is, left to your own devices, you can only get so far. I was redoing my coaching website breakthemeta.net.
Shameless plug.
That's .net, breakthemeta.net. I was redoing that, and I was just reading through like different things about being a life coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading through all these different websites and what other life coaches are doing, whatever. And I came across this study that was talking about coaching specifically. And they said somebody left to their own devices, if they're self-training, they see an improvement of about 22.7%. But with a coach, with somebody else who has their welfare at the forefront of their minds, that helps them challenge perspective and do things new and recommends things, they have an 83%
that's a big difference.
Improvement. Yeah. And just imagine what that's like if you have a community of people surrounding yourself. So if you're one of those people that are just like, oh, I just need to keep digging in. Well, maybe you don't actually just need to keep digging in unless you know specifically that needs to be a priority. But if you've been digging in for a while
and getting nowhere.
Yeah.
Or you're digging a rut.
or if you're just so focused on community and you want the community to make your changes, maybe you need to replace community with self-development and personal growth and reflection and all that.
These priorities can change.
Yeah, or maybe you're focused on all these things, but you're leaving out God. And it's like, okay, well, you can't serve two masters. Going and like specifically what you want your future to look like. And this isn't some kind of like prosperity gospel or just like motivate. No, man, it's like, where are you actually trying to go? Like, one of my favorite stories is in Alice in Wonderland, and it's that I always talk about this. It's where Alice gets to the crossroads and she meets the Cheshire Cat. And the Cheshire Cat is just watching her, and she's like,
"Where are you going?"
Panicked out. Where are you going? She's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get away from here. Just tell me which way to go. And he's like, well, where are you trying to get? And she's like, I really don't care. Just tell me which way is right. And he said, well, if you don't have a destination in mind, it really doesn't matter which way you go. Right?
Yeah.
And so it's like a lot of people want to develop themselves and change things, but how? When you don't really know how, the world's going to make its decisions for you, especially, man, you got to be really careful, especially if you're in the religious world, because there's a lot of weird expectations there and ways to navigate life. You have to have God leading you there. But that's why it's so important. As you grow, things change. Like every 7 years, they say that your inner circle of friends or like your friend group changes, your taste buds change. Every 3 months, the seasons change.
Well, I think after 7 years, every cell in your body has re-replicated itself and you're a different person than you were 7 years ago physically. Yeah,
like this. I was at the gym the other day. I go to the gym, guys. Yeah. But there was this person, like in just my peripheral, I see this person doing curls, and they're curling a 10-pound weight. And I'm like, what a wimp. Oh, it's a 10-year-old. I was like, oh, okay, I see why they're curling.
Wow.
I'm just thinking to myself, man, what would my season of life been back then if I had focused more on my physical health instead of just all these other things? Like, I wasted a lot of time playing video games and doing whatnot. Not that playing video games is bad,
no,
but when it's your main priority and you're not focused on whatever. But I remember I used to play sports. Mm-hmm. Like, I used to wrestle and do track and inline speed skating and all this stuff. And I wasn't good by any means. It's just something participation award. That's me, right? Now I would always get like pissed when I wouldn't get first. And I remember running track. And I did the 110 hurdles, the 110 sprint, and I remember running my hardest. I was like, I'm gonna win. And then the gun goes off, pa! And I start running, and all these people leave me in the dust. And I'm halfway down the thing, and I'm like, why, man, why? And yet I would go home and just eat crap, and I wouldn't exercise. And it's like my priorities were way out of whack. My goal was over here, but my priorities were taking me this way, right? And it's like, if I had just adjusted my priorities and aligned them with my goals, it's okay, Tim, you want to run faster? You want to be healthier? You need to eat differently. You need to regimen yourself to run more. That way your body isn't just exhausted by taking 2 steps. And like relationships, if your relationship is your goal, you need to make more priority on communication, community. You surround yourself with people who are in healthy relationships.
Yep.
If you're in a poor financial space and you're trying to get to a good financial space, you need to prioritize not spending money or how you manage your finances instead of being so social.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, the reality is, if you're doing something well or working on it, if you do it long enough, it can become root memory, like it become muscle memory. And so that way you don't have to constantly focus on it. You can change your priorities onto other things, and it's not meaning that all that's going to suffer. Like me taking a little less time to focus on self-development and just allow God to take care of my development. I'm not abandoning self-development. I'm not here to say self-development is less important. No, like, honestly, I wouldn't have put as much time into it if I thought that was the case. It's just I recognize that right now I'm so strong when it comes to self-development that I'm weak in other places that need to be worked on that I haven't thought was a priority in the past, but really is. And so, like, I've been, like, working out this personal growth and everything, but the community muscle is atrophied a bit.
Yeah, so guys, if you're watching, I want your input on this.
But it didn't go away. It didn't go away. That's an important part. So if you're letting go of somebody, mean you're just going to lose your personal growth muscles. It just means work on something else and then come back when it's time to work on it again. Anyways, sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. How do you know when your priorities and your goals are misaligned?
There's a lot of different things, but for me...
I was asking them, Brandon.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. If you're watching this and you'd like to tell me to shut up and give the answer, please do. What? Ask the question again. No, ask it again.
How do you know when your priorities and your goals are misaligned?
What do you think?
Yeah.
Those are watching us in YouTube and Facebook. We'd love to hear. Let us know. There's going to be I think a 3-second delay, maybe less, between us saying that and them actually hearing it, and then maybe another 3-second delay between them hearing and actually be able to type it if they do.
Yeah. I will say though, once you realize that they're misaligned, it really helps, because I've had these spurts in my life where this has happened, or I'll have a meeting with a mentor of mine or something, and they'll just identify, hey, dude, you're completely missing this part. You need to just readjust. I'm like, why didn't I see that?
Wow, it's so simple.
Yeah, but just connecting those dots is really cool, because that's the starting point. Because I feel like for me, when I've been in those stuck places where nothing is working and I just feel like I have to work harder, and when I work harder and it doesn't work, it's like, man, I'm a piece of crap. I just don't have it. I don't have enough, But when I get to those places where I'm like, okay, I just need to readjust. Kind of like, I remember working on my car one time, and I was trying to remove something. I think it was a lug nut or an oil filter. I didn't have the right tool, right? And so I tried all these other things, and I was under the car. My knuckles were all banged up, and I was saying words I shouldn't say. I was getting all hot and sweaty and frustrated. And then I was like, what the heck, And my dad comes out, and I'm like, I didn't want to ask him what I was doing wrong. But, I swallowed my pride eventually, and he's like, oh, you're turning it the wrong way. I was like, oh my gosh.
It was so simple.
My gosh. But the cool thing is, it completely took off the table the concept that I had of myself, that I'm a piece of crap. I don't know what I'm doing. Why? Gosh, I need the right. No, Tim, you're just doing it wrong. Here, just change this. Everything you were doing was right. You were just doing it the wrong way.
My people perish for lack of knowledge. That's what the Bible says.
Yeah.
He said, Dan's response is, dude, I don't know. This topic intimidates me, really.
Really?
That's what he says. Yeah. Acts says, it's a feeling I just have, or I check those around and compare my behavior with them to try to pick up better habits.
Mm-hmm.
And Eden is saying, or Bryce is saying, when my gut makes my brain think of someone incessantly, something, not someone, or something. So if you think about it incessantly, that's a moment where he realizes he's stuck. He realizes he's stuck on it. For me, I know that when I'm need to shift gears, I'm anxious. I'm recognizing nothing I do feels like it's working, and no one seems to be able to help, kind of thing. So if I'm starting to I'm just constantly anxious, constantly irritated or whatever, that's a sign that I've probably gotten stuck in a rut somewhere and need to shift into another priority. In this situation when it comes to dealing with porn, and all that kind of stuff, I recognized that I needed to make a shift because I just, I don't know. Like God was already finagling me, if you will. Finagling. He was already adjusting me and my expectations and everything. It was like, I can take care of this. Like, you can trust me and all that all that jazz. But like, I was resisting it because it was just like, I kept feeling like if I were to not focus on this, then I'm just gonna go through with it, and I'm just gonna get stuck. And so I was so focused on my end of things that I wasn't able to see outside of that, like what other people could be doing, what God could be doing, whatever. When I became so self-focused, so self-conscious of what I'm supposed to be doing, and then I realized, crap, I'm stuck. That's for me what it looks like. I'm becoming too self-conscious.
Yeah. I'm thinking about how, like, I know a lot of you guys, and I know Brandon pretty well. I know myself pretty well. I know my wife really well. And I've seen a lot of people get in that place where they're stuck. And it's weird because when people get in a place where they're stuck, it's like, it's always said, like, when you're pressed, what's really inside of you is what comes out, you know? And I've seen people backed into a wall. I got some clients right now that I'm seeing some really bad sides of them. And I'm just thinking, like, when people are healthy, somebody asked me the other day, does God expect somebody who's healthy, or does God expect somebody who is unhealthy to respond in a healthy way? And that just got me thinking, you know, like when I'm being pressed, especially when I'm stuck and I'm stressed out, does God expect me to respond in a healthy way, right? And when I'm responding in a healthy way, is that how God designed me? Like, just flourishing? Because we're designed to flourish, you know, we're designed specifically, and when we're in our strengths and when we're healthy, you know, who we really are comes out. Like when you are healthy, Brandon, and you're not stuck, you're dancing around, you're smiling, you're very light, you know, you bring a lot of just a lighthearted spirit to the room, you know, and it's really easy for you to show people love and just like hug people, and but when you're pressed and you're stuck, you're really heavy, and that same joy the way you're designed doesn't come out. And for me too, like, especially in marriage, man. So if you guys are married, my heart goes out to you too, because marriage can be hard sometimes, you know, because somebody gets to see who you are intimately, not apart from all the crap. But I know that when my goal and my priorities are misaligned and I'm stuck and I'm frustrated, I'm no longer acting as though I know that God's got my back. Last night at Roots, David said something. He mentioned 3 words: sin of unbelief. And that really hit me, because it's like, it's really easy for me to have faith and believe God is who he says he is, and come on this freaking podcast and say, you know, God is Lord and he loves you so much and all that stuff. But when it actually comes down to it, that's a different story, man. Like, do I actually believe that God's going to do what he says he is, or does Tim need to do more because that's where I find my value? Yeah. And when I go into that space and I'm pushing my priorities this way, but my goal is that way, and God wants me to get that way, I'm at enmity with God. And what happens when you're apart from God? All the negative stuff happens, right? Anger, frustration, strife, malice, malintent, bad word, like all this stuff happens, right? And so me, when I'm at my healthiest, you know, I'm just laying on the ground. I'm just like, looking at the birds. I'm a dreamer. I'm very lighthearted. I'm not a very heavy person. I'm a deep person, but I'm not a heavy person. I'm easily distracted in a good way. But when I am misaligned, when my priorities and my goals are misaligned, I'm not lighthearted. I'm very heavy-hearted. I'm like, Ariane, I can't hang out with you right now. I got to do this. No, I got to get back to work. I've only worked 12 hours today. I need to keep at it. You know. That's
the journey that God brought me on. Is like up to this point, everything I've been seeing and being told, and the people that I've been seeing who have been successful outside of a porn addiction, are all people that live, regardless of what they're going through, in the same season. They're just unaffected. They're moving closer and closer to God, and they're not allowing their failures to make them want to distance themselves from God. When they make mistakes, they're going to God. When they're succeeding, they're going to God. When they're happy, they're going to God. When they're sad, they're going to God. Every opportunity turns into another opportunity. Every struggle, every blessing turns into another opportunity for them to go to God again. Mm-hmm. And they live separated from their circumstances. And so when I'm seeing the people like yourself, or like Dan, or like Todd, I'm seeing them, they're not...
Dan, did you hear that? We're like Todd White, man. Let's go. Give me...
But I see them living apart from what's going on. I see them, they're all about their identity in Jesus, and seeing ourselves through the lens of Jesus and not focusing on the mistakes. Mm-hmm. And that's where I just feel like I've been invited back into this again. It's just like, my goal is to just stay focused on Jesus. Jesus's goal is to keep molding me into where he wants me to be. Mm-hmm. And somehow, either he has been lying to me this whole time in his ability to take care of this temptation and help me become strong enough to resist it, or I just need to learn to just trust him that he has the ability to change my desires. And I don't have to focus on that, because I've really been feeling welcomed into, don't worry about that, let me worry about mm-hmm. that. You just continue working on your job, you work on the priorities that we talked about. And so that's just, I've been invited to live outside of my problems. Mm-hmm. And to delegate them to Jesus, and now they're your problems. Because that's what I was recognizing in worship yesterday. It's like, I genuinely don't want these things, but yet I still keep going through them. So I've come to the end of my rope. My rope is done. I can't do anything else. God, you got to take care of it somehow, because I've done it all. Well, I have done it all.
That's the thing, man. When we push so hard in our priorities and we're not focused on the goal, we start thinking, okay, well, I've solved this one thing. I need to solve these other things with the same process. We were talking with somebody on the way home last night, and we were just talking about how God doesn't always address the things that we think he should.
He often does not.
Usually, and it's so weird, man. Like, we get in our minds that, okay, well, there's this thing that's at the forefront of my mind that really matters to me. Just like when a kid gets Tommy called me a butthead. Because I was like that as a kid. I would get really affected by small things, and that was like my focus. I thought my world was ending because people didn't want to be my friend. But in those moments, God knows what we really need, because when I feel like the world's ending because somebody's not being my friend, it's not an issue of me and that person. It's an issue of my value. And so God's like, okay, well, let's prioritize from being social over here to you and me. Let's move your priorities away from, doing well in school, which is still important, to how's your relationship with your parents.
Well, this one is really easily noticeable for those of you who do like serious CrossFit training workouts and stuff. When you're trying to build your body well, you're not going to keep working on the same muscles over and over and over again. You're going to go to some other muscles. You're going to work on some triceps. You're going to work on your biceps. You're going to work on other parts of your body, because if you
biceps.
Your biceps, yes.
These are your
pecs.
Your pectorals.
I'm sorry. These are the biceps. No.
Biceps.
These are biceps. These are triceps.
I
need help. I need Kristen. Kristen, you need to come on here and help me out with which muscle is what. Pecs. Anyways,
your lats and thighs, your bis and tris, your pecs and your something.
We're about thoughts. We're not necessarily about muscles. Sorry. Anyways, what I do know though is you don't focus on the same muscle repetitively, because you'll work it out. You'll burn it. Like it become too tight, or you'll just rip it too much. You need to focus on other muscles, let that heal up, grow stronger, while you focus on other muscles. In the same way, also, we could say the same thing about priorities. You get really good with working on certain priorities. Okay, now let's focus on some other priorities that need to be worked out this time. I think it's the same thing. And Dan's saying, I hate setting goals. It feels much safer to work on things and try to improve without a goal. Then there is no chance of failure. I feel that.
So I wrote something down that's for you, Daniel. Action without direction is automation.
Action without direction is automation. Would you be able to, like...
Maybe that doesn't make sense. But it's like, when you just take action, you don't really have a direction. You're just going somewhere, you know? And it's like, okay, any car can move anywhere. But, man, it's like, I want to go to the beach. I want to go to, I don't know, Italy. I want to go to Little Richards. Japan.
Nihon.
But there's a big difference, man. Like, you could do all the right things and go in the wrong direction. You know, you have to have a direction in mind. And setting goals is really scary. Like, when you said that, dude, earlier, the whole, what was that he said?
This topic kind of intimidates me.
Yeah. Like, I totally get that, because setting goals, man, it's just one of those things where when you define it, it's bad enough you define it to yourself and it's like, oh, I've let myself down. But when there's accountability and you have friends as well, it's like, oh, I've let my friends down. Now they're thinking these things about me. And there's this level of, okay, now I actually have to commit to this. And then you think to yourself, okay, well, if I commit to this, then that means I have to do something. Well, what if I fall short? You know? But that's the thing, you know, like setting and I would Google this if you guys have issues setting goals. Google the word SMART goal. It really helps. I learned this in my previous profession, and basically it talks about, it's an acronym, SMART. Be very specific about what you're trying to accomplish. Make it measurable, not just something ambiguous where it could or could not happen. Is it actually attainable? Is it something that you can do? Have you been taught it? Is it realistic? Is it actually within your scope of the resources you have? And what's the time frame? The T is the big one. What's the time frame that you want to shoot for? And it's a constant reevaluation process of that, because a lot of people think, okay, I'm just going to set this goal and it's static. Well, no, you're in this. It's not try, fail, and what is it?
Try, fail, and adjust.
Yeah, it's not try, fail, and adjust. It's try, fail, adjust, and try again. I think that's what I wrote down before. But basically, you know, sometimes you set goals that are not realistic, and you have to be realistic about that. Sometimes you set goals that are way too easy, and it's like, I got the self-growth thing down. No problem, man. I can go 2 days without looking at porn. Well, what if you want a lifetime of it? Oh man, I failed because I only went 6 months. Well, you know, readjust your goals. You know, realistically, all we have to do is 10% tomorrow than we've done today. You know, and you'll eventually get there. I mean, Chase Hicks, man. Chase, if you're watching, I love you so much. You're such a wise person. He said that God's role in our life, the Holy Spirit's role in our life, is sanctification. And for those of you who don't know what that means, sanctification is moving from unhealthy to healthy, right? It's a lifelong process. It's not limited. It's not something where God expects you, okay, you're a Christian now. You have me in your life. You need to get it right or else. No, man. It's like your entire life from now until when you are taken from earth in whatever fashion. That is how long God plans to work on your heart in different ways. And sometimes you're going to be bullheaded and try to stuff priorities down his throat that aren't aligned to the goal. Sometimes you're just going to flat out tell him no. Sometimes you're going to say, God, that's way too tough, and not even try. But the cool thing is you get another chance. And all you have to do is one baby step tomorrow better than you've done today.
Yeah.
And that takes all the pressure off the table. You can always reevaluate, because that's what relationships are. They're mercy, where you don't receive what you're due, and grace, where you receive something that you haven't earned. And it's that constant ebb and flow of receiving grace and receiving mercy. You know, that's what your relationship with God is, because he knows what your weaknesses are. And so when you fail in his presence, he doesn't throw it in your face. He's like, hey, let me show you again who you are. Try again. Right? Because in your weakness, God is made strong, right? He's not made strong when you bat 1,000. Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, I think we could go on, but we are definitely beyond 45 minutes. We're into like 50. So I feel like here's a good place to stop. So all that said, I want to let you guys know that tomorrow we'll be having a special guest, my dad. He will be on. Surprise. I think this is going to be very interesting because a lot of you guys have heard my perspective of things when it comes to my parents. But tomorrow you'll be able to hear my dad's perspective on things, to see the dynamics between the two of us, which will be very interesting. We'll be talking about fatherhood. And that is something that's been heavy on my dad's heart. So he'll be coming to talk about that. And we'd love to have you there for that. So if you guys happen to have any questions about fatherhood, maybe about, what is it like raising a child, or what expectations are there for a father, or any kind of question you can think of, write it down. Let us know. Let us know in the comments. thoughtraid@gmail.com is another very valid way you can let us know. We'd want to know what you're thinking so we can ask him about it. And if you want to know about what it was like for him to raise me, and you'd like to have me embarrassed in some shape, way, or form, you can also do that.
What stories do you guys want to know about Brandon?
Brandon growing up from my dad directly, you can ask. That'd be a great time to do that. So either way, serious or funny, we invite both. But anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching. We broadcast every day on Monday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we will see you again this Saturday at 7 p.m. with my dad as a special guest.
I can see far away from where I've been. He says I see a potential. I see a potential in my eyes. I see a potential. I never lost sight of the reason why you're alive. You're alive. You're alive. We sing Jesus, you're alive.